All right, thank you, Teresa. Go ahead and take it away.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Literacy Enrichment today. Today we have several things going on. Just to get started, always go through our little bit of housekeeping, always encouraging participation. Just make sure that you have your name. It makes it easier for people to put a name to the face to your voice. And we'll always utilize that chat box. And today you'll get a really good chance to do that as well. And then at any time that you need to step away, just be mindful and turn off your video and sound. Again, I know that this is during a lot of people's lunchtime. Some of you may even have kids in your program right now. Just again, be mindful and make sure that you turn off your sound and video if you need to step away. So for our agenda today, we got some good things for you today. We're going to start off with some guest speakers from Iowa Extension and Outreach. Michelle Schultz and Madison Gaskin are here to talk to you about some programs that ISU offers. Once they are done with their part, we will get into some literacy activities. And then we will finish up with some kind of like let's talk, like we did last session, taking a step back and talk about the ripple effect of the pandemic as well as next steps. So without further ado, we have Michelle Schott and Madison Gaskin again. They're from ISU Extension. They're going to talk about, again, just some activities and programs that they can add to your literacy programs that you have. I'll go ahead and do my stop share, and then I'll give it over to them.
Oops. Okay, are you seeing the shared PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Madison Gaskin. I am a Polk County Youth Coordinator with the 4-H program. So I work with kids in specifically Polk County, kindergarten to 12th grade. And I just want to kind of let everybody know too, Iowa State Extension is a 99 county campus, if you will. So we have extension offices in every single county. So while we're talking about Polk County and some of this is specific to Polk County, there is an extension office in everybody's county.
Awesome. Thanks, Madison. My name is Michelle Schott, and I am an extension educator in Polk County as well, and I do family life programming. So Madison and I are just going to share a little bit about the types of programs we have here. And as Madison mentioned, since there is an extension office in every county, we'll be able to share at the end how you can get connected to the extension office in your county to be able to collaborate. And we also do want to mention that all of these programs won't be offered in each county. Every county is going to be a little bit different in their programming options, but you can definitely reach out to them to let them know of your interest areas, especially if it's around literacy, and they should be able to provide you with all of the programming that they have available. So before we jump in, I do just want to give you an overview in case you aren't super familiar with Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. But essentially, it brings the research-based information from Iowa State University out into the counties and really kind of connects research to communities to be able to educate and empower Iowans. Really with the goal of creating strong families and strong communities. And so you can see here that we have 4 different signature areas: community economic development that really focuses in on that civic engagement and business development, as well as food and the environment. And this is ranging from things like master gardeners, maybe you've heard of, or just like farm management. And then 4-H and youth development, which Madison mentioned is the area that she's from, really focusing on preparing youth for the future. And then health and well-being, which is the area that I represent today, has a focus on building strong families around finances, communication, as well as nutrition. So that's just a little bit about Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. And today we'll share specifically about the literacy programs that we have available.
Yeah, so to get us started, I'm going to talk about some of the programs that we have in the 4-H department. And this can be either delivered by extension staff, or in Polk County, you can become trained and you can check out kits that we have available. And there's a couple different Lit to Go series I want to talk about, but the general idea is the same. So we utilize a children's literacy book, so a read aloud, to introduce a topic or a theme that then the youth will get to do a hands-on activity that explores that a little bit further. These are geared towards kindergarten through third grade, but they really could be used for a little bit older or a little bit younger if those are the youth that you're working with, as long as you kind of adapt it to that age range. And all of our programs utilize the experiential learning model, which is do, reflect, apply. And in the curriculum, if you check it out, or when we come and do it, we do that piece for you, but it's really built out and it's nice, super simple. And that apply piece is nice because it not only applies to their current life, but we also, like Michelle said, focus on getting them prepared for their future. So we're talking about how that could apply in their future, be it tying it to careers or talking about how that might be applicable, let's say if they're driving, whatever it might be. And so, like I said, this can be checked out if you're working in Polk County, if you get trained. And I don't know that my email's at the end of this, so you will have access to that. STEM Lit to Go and STEM Lit to Go Iowa are the first two that I will highlight. So kind of like I talked about, it will use a children's literacy book to introduce the topic, and it covers many different things such as engineering design process, how to plan and conduct investigations, coding, we use little robots, and a lot more. And the STEM Lit to Go Iowa is really fun because it has Iowa-based topics, authors, or illustrators. So all of the books have either an Iowa topic. One is about the Iowa State Fair, or they represent Iowa authors. Then we have Art Lit to Go to talk about art concepts. And it's the same exact concept. We read a book and do an activity that talks about that. And I actually did one last night, which talked about layering, and then we made some homemade pizzas. And the kids really enjoy that. They get to have a product that they get to take home. And I like to call this sneaky learning. So, you know, we're doing something that's really fun and they don't necessarily know that they're learning, but they are. And then we have a Food Culture Lit, and I really like this. So we read a book, and then all of our lessons incorporate some aspect of nutrition, be it we talk about the My Plate, which is up here, and it's also tied specifically to one of the My Plates. So for example, one of our lessons is Kenya and fruits. And so we read a book about a girl that lives in Kenya, and then we learn about the fruit aspect of nutrition, and then they get to make fruit salad. So you read your book, you learn a little bit about the Kenyan culture that's also built in there, and I didn't talk about that. And then they get to do some hands-on food preparation, which is really cool. We haven't really been able to do this with COVID because of food safety, but I think that we'll be on track to start getting to do it really soon. And then another curriculum that I didn't mention in the slides because it's not 100% ready, but there is also a financial literacy curriculum that's the same Lit to Go type of thing. You use a book and then you, sorry, my clock is going to ring. Sorry about that. But you read the book and then you talk about a financial piece of literacy, and that's also geared for the kindergarten through third grade.
Great. So I know that most of you are working with after school programs, and so I know that Madison's programming really lends itself well. But I also just wanted to mention some of the programming that are broadly, a more broad approach to reaching the entire family. And so one of those is our bookshelf, and this was actually created in response to the pandemic. We knew that parents were going to be at home with little ones, preschool age and early elementary, and they might be looking for some tips and some advice about how to engage their children in literacy during the pandemic. And so we created this, or the specialist for Iowa State Extension and Outreach created this program to be able to help families with reading aloud. And really it's focusing on dialogic reading techniques. So making a conversation about the book that you're reading and helping parents learn to ask those open-ended questions. And so the fun thing is that it's 4 weeks, and each week the families get a book that they get to take home with them. So whether that be mailed or they pick it up at the local library, and there's a reading guide to go along with the book that just gives families some tips and some ideas about how they can engage with their children around that book. So during the 30-minute Zoom session, parents learn about kind of the reading techniques for that week, and then they get to go home and practice with their child throughout the week. And then they come back the next week via Zoom and get a new book and be able to really engage around that topic. So that's one that we've been really excited about because we initially created it just here in Polk County, but there's been excitement about it throughout the state. And so it's in the process right now, a revision process to be able to get approved to be able to implement it throughout the state. So we'll hope that we'll be able to do that in the upcoming summer and fall as soon as it's officially approved. So that's the first one. And then another program that we have that was also created in response to the pandemic is going to be, Madison, if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, is Engage, Read, Grow. And this one was designed too because we recognize that a lot of parents, because of the time of the program or internet access or whatever it may be, they maybe weren't going to be able to engage in that first program. And so this program was created and it's using a text message platform so that parents would be able to engage in the information on their own time. And the thing I like about this is that there's no wait time. So if a parent is interested, they can sign up and they begin to get the messages that same week. It's also, I like it because it's not overwhelming. There's not a ton of information. There's a total of 6 text messages that families receive, 3 in the first week and 3 in the second week. But it is really helpful information that really gets to the main ideas that parents are interested in about letter sounds, how to increase vocabulary, kindergarten readiness, and just some ideas about how to engage in reading. So you can see here on the slide, there's a picture of what it appears on the cell phone. It's probably too small to read the text, but this one is specifically around increasing vocabulary. So helping parents understand that when you come to a word that you don't know, start with the kid-friendly definition. For example, I think the word here is enormous. So you can say enormous means very big, and then give an example to your child. Elephants are enormous. And the next thing that it asks, or it gives parents a tip, is to ask your child, what else is enormous? And then use that word throughout the day. So when you're driving to daycare, you can say, oh my goodness, those semi-trucks are enormous. And so I think it provides families really simple, easy to use tips that they can apply at any time with their child. So this program is specifically developed with that preschooler in mind, so that 3 to 6-year-old age range. And it is provided in English and Spanish. And I forgot to mention also that our bookshelf is also provided in English and Spanish. So if you're interested in this program, we'd be happy we'll send the flyer, and you're more than welcome to share this with families throughout the state. So the next one, I do just want to mention this program. We aren't doing it right now because of the pandemic, since we're not doing in-person programming. But Raising School Ready Readers is the program that we utilized the most prior to the pandemic. And we hope to be able to go back to that once we're doing in-person programming. It is really focused on embedded literacy. And so we partnered quite often with libraries where parents and youth would come together to talk about how to incorporate literacy into their everyday lives. And so I love the curriculum because it focuses on rooms in the household. So how can we do literacy in the kitchen or in the bathroom? And then it focuses on these 6 areas of literacy. So this is, when we do go back to in-person, it might still take a while because this is very much hands-on and station-based. And so there's lots of sharing of material. So it might be a while before we can do this, but I just wanted to put it on your radar in case that your organization has interest. And this one, the same thing, would be a statewide program. If you're interested, you could contact your county extension office and they'd be able to connect you. So the next slide is really, we just wanted to mention that, Madison and I are in Polk County. We'd love for you to reach out if you are interested in collaborating with us in Polk County. But, if you're not here, there is an extension office in every county, and you can go to this website. Let me see, I'll try to put it here in the chat box to be able to find your county's extension office, reach out to them, and figure out if there's ways for you to collaborate in your communities. So here is just our contact information, but we'd love to open it up for any questions about the programs or about ISU Extension and Outreach.
Anybody have any questions for the ladies today? I see no questions.
Hello? Go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, Billy.
I just wanted to know, I know everything with the pandemic has changed and slowly going back to somewhat normalcy. I don't know what that is anymore, but hey, are you going to go back to offering programs where you will come and assist staff with some of the things that you just talked about?
Yes, we will. We're so unsure of when exactly that will be. Hopefully relatively soon, considering vaccines are rolling out much more quickly. But that will ultimately be up to our supervisor, but that will be the goal. So I would safely assume by fall we should be doing in-person programming, I would say. But this summer, I know we worked with Oak Ridge in the past, and this summer we are still doing virtual programming. We are hoping to do what we're going to call a victory lap the last week of July and come around to our really amazing partners and do some fun stuff in person.
Teresa, I would actually be curious to know who on the call today already partners with their extension office for this too. I think that would be kind of interesting to know.
Yes. If you can shout that out in the chat box, that would be nice. Or just, or you can send a wave. If you can do a wave or a smiley face, like, yep. Use your reaction key. There we go.
We currently do it. I'm over the phone here, so we
Okay.
currently do over here at SHIP.
And Megan, where are you located in the state?
Sioux City, Iowa.
Okay, awesome.
We're in Cedar Rapids.
Okay. Beyond the Bell.
Can I ask who is our person
Yes,
on the
beyond
phone?
the bell. This is Sierra Whitlock from SHIP.
Okay. I'm going to quickly just rename you just so that we know who you are because your number showing
Okay.
up. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful. And the last time that I had reached out to Iowa State and talked to them, they've added some nice programs. So yes, wanted to get them here and add more to what you already do, what our wonderful programs do. Anybody else have
Yeah,
any
I will
questions?
say our kids during our summer program at Beyond the Bell, we've partnered with Iowa State for a lot of different things during our summer program. They've done a nutrition thing, they've done a planting one, and our kids have always enjoyed it, especially the younger ones. So it's been awesome.
Wonderful. Any comments anybody has? Okay.
Well, thanks for letting us come
Yes, thank you.
present today. And I'm glad to know that some other folks across the state have been able to connect already. And feel free, even if you're not in Polk County, if you need help connecting, feel free to reach out to Madison or myself, and we'd happily help you make that connection. So
Right.
thank you so much.
And I definitely have your contact information and we'll share that out if anybody needs it. Definitely have you on the list for the next go around that we do. Thank you
Sounds
for
good.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you all.
Mhm. Okay, we are going to continue with our session. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So I have two activities that we're going to get into, but I wanted to kind of take a step back and talk about just some research that I came across. The activities that we're going to do today, before we actually get into our discussion, involves vocabulary development and building. Some of the kiddos that you're going to come in contact with that we service, some of them you're going to have You'll be helping them build the vocabulary as well as develop vocabulary. So according to research, there are two ways that we store knowledge. One way is linguistic. We store knowledge in words, phrases, and statements. And then the other one is the non-linguistic, which is pictures. So pictures that will help us remember, like it may be smell, taste, touch, also kinesthetic, which is hands-on, and then sound. And with this research, they were also talking about how the more exposure kids have to words, the more their vocabulary broadens. It also allows for kids to create meaning. And when I talk about meaning, like to create their own definition of that word. To be able to use their context clues. If they're reading the word in a passage or in a book, they're able to practice their context clues and look around and kind of get a meaning from there. Also, it allows for them to explore more with that word, put meaning into listening, put meaning into speaking when they speak. And then it also connects to their prior knowledge. So the activities that we're going to do today, these are activities that you probably already do in your program. These are activities that will allow kids to connect to what they already know as well as expand, add to it. And then it makes them proficient in areas of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. I wanted to add this piece in this because I thought this piece was really important. That it makes them proficient in these areas of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, which yields to literacy. And not just literacy as in reading, but there are all facets of literacy. We got cultural literacy, we got financial literacy, we have now in our technology world, we have media literacy. So it just allows for them to be able to communicate, to be able to explore, to be able to develop and grow in those areas. So our first activity that we are actually going to do is categories. Some of you probably already know what this game is about. Probably already played this game before. This game is for grades, definitely for grades, 3rd grade on up. You can do this with K through 2nd grade, but there are some modifications that come with that. One of the modifications may be you may have to have somebody actually write the answers down. And then the other modification would be you wouldn't have this on a timer. You would just do it with your classroom. Ways to play is you could do it individually. You could do it with partners. You could partner your kids up. You can do it as smaller groups, or you can play as a whole entire classroom. And if you've played categories before, or you'll know in the game, you'll actually get a couple of dice, and the dice have the alphabet in the letters A through Z. Then you're giving a list of categories. Okay, and I don't know how many are in there. I think it's like up to 12, 13, something like that. And the way that you play is that you either pick or roll a letter, however you want to do that. Whatever letter you land on, the categories have to begin with that particular letter. And then you would set your timer for 2 minutes. And then once you're done, then you would go around and if you want to, you can selectively ask kids what their answers are. In the past, when I've played this game, I usually pre-select categories because either I'm curious about what people have, what the answers would be. Like, for example, on this list 4, I would be curious about what people came up with nicknames. Or I can use it to gather information on the overall interest of my kids. So number 4 on the same list, ice cream flavors, that may help me down the road if I want to, surprise them with an ice cream party or something. So we are going to actually play this game. So if you have a piece of paper or pencil around, some scratch paper or some writing utensils, we're actually going to play a round of this. Get it up. So if you want to incorporate technology into your program, this is the way of doing this. I actually found this one online. I will share this information as well. It will be on the, it'll be in the, excuse me, just lost my train of thought. I will have it for when we post, it will be in the post. But when you're doing it online, if you look, so you have the card, here is the letter. If you want to, you can re-roll, and we're going to actually re-roll. We're going to do something kind of simple. It'll give you the time. You can change the time if you want. This bigger box here, it defaults to 12 categories, but if you want it to go bigger, you can. If you want to go smaller, you can. And then the box over here where it says restart, that just gives you a new slide altogether. Yes.
Teresa, we're still seeing your presentation. Are you trying to show us a website or something?
Yes, you cannot see it?
No, you'll have to go up to the top and do a new share and share your screen.
Oh. Okay, my fault. Sorry, everyone. I was wondering why people are like, huh? Okay, does that work? I'm sorry.
Yes, we can see where we can see what you're talking about now, but maybe just walk us through again real quick.
Okay, I am so sorry. I thought it was there. I'm so sorry. So in the upper box, you have the letter box. You can re-roll that box if you want to. You just hit the re-roll. There's the time, it's for 2 minutes. You can change it if you want. In this bigger box here, it has the categories. It's defaulted to 12, but you can go either up or down if you want. And then the box over here, you can just hit restart and it will give you a brand new sheet. So we are actually going to do this. I'm gonna go ahead and hit play. And the letter is going to be L. Ready? So the first category is nicknames, then it goes to tools, things that you wear, words ending in N, things that you do every day, items in a suitcase, things you store items in, software, cartoon characters, bad habits, things in a souvenir shop, and celebrities. Got about 50 seconds left. Got 20 seconds left. Got 10 seconds left. Okay, time is up. And then it'll come and let you know that time is up, and then you just hit the OK button, and then it'll redo the categories. It'll do the categories for you so that you can see what it is. I'm curious to know. I was gonna say, some people are sitting in the chat like, wow, some of that stuff got me. Yes. Yeah. Curious to know, any cartoon characters? What did people come in? What cartoon characters? You can either say it or you could just put it in the chat box. Luigi, okay. Any L cartoon characters? Lion King. Okay. Oh, Lola Bunny. I wouldn't have guessed that one. I would not have guessed that one. Longhorn, okay. Yes. How about Bad Habits? Oh, Bad Habits. L for Bad Habits. Lion, okay. Oh, yes, Lilo will count for Lilo and Stitch. Yes, for the cartoon characters. Yes. Yep, Lion for Bad Habits. I would have put Laziness. Okay. This is also a wonderful game that you can use to kick off your family nights. There are several ways that you can do this. You can have it where each family gets a list, and then, you give them the 2 minutes or however long you want to give them to do this. You can also do it where it's adults against the kids. That way, again, if you're trying to incorporate technology, you can shoot this up on a screen and have everybody do it that way. But it's a really good way to kick off your family night. And that way it also introduces a new game to them as well that they can utilize in their homes at night.
Teresa, I want to point out a comment that was in the chat from Cora. She said that if you click the add a category,
Mhm.
yep, right there, she thinks you can see the list of the categories that they have too. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks for that tip, Cora.
Thank you. It's a really good one. Yeah, like you have a list generator, there's an older version on it. There's different things that you can do on this particular one. And here's the website that I got it from. And there's other versions out there as well. There is actually a Spanish version. It's called Basta, but it's like 2012 is the last time that was created. If you are looking to do it in Spanish, feel free to ask any of the Spanish teachers at the high schools. Hey, you may even want to ask some of the Spanish students to translate the categories for you and do it that way as well. And it doesn't have to be Spanish. I mean, you could do it in, Sudanese as well if you have someone who's willing to translate the categories for you. Any questions on this particular one? Any questions or comments on this particular game? Okay. So the next game, moving along. I didn't see any questions. Okay. So moving along, the next game, it's called the alphabet game. And you can look this one up. There's going to be different variations on how to play this particular game. Okay. Again, it's the same group grades, definitely third grade on up. K through second grade, it would be done with modifications, mainly with somebody just writing down the answers. Same way of playing it, individual, partners, smaller groups, or classroom. And with this particular one, you're just going to choose a letter between A through Z. This could be done with the kids. The kids could do this, staff could do this, however you want to do this. And whatever letter you choose, the words have to begin with that particular letter. Kids will write down at least 5 words. If they're older or advanced, they'll write down 7 words. And then once you're done, you can go around the room and you can ask people for their answers if you want. We're going to quickly do this game as well, so you kind of get a feel of how this game goes. So with the same piece of paper that you have, the letter we are going to have is the letter P. And you need to come up with at least 7 words that start with the letter P. There's no timer on this one, so you can give kids as much time as they need. There is one rule. There is one rule to this. They cannot use people's name. And I will say that's at staff's discretion, because we do know that there's some names out there like Bob and Cindy and Sandy that, Rich, that are actual words. So you got to come up with 7 words that start with the letter P. Give you probably another, I would say probably 45 seconds. I know I said that there's no timer, but for the sake of today, we're gonna have a time. Okay. Go ahead and see if we can come to a finish. So then at staff's discretion, you can go around the room and you can ask kids what the words that they came up with, or you can collect the list if you want to. There are tons of activities that you can branch off from just this particular game. I have 2 that are here. And this could be for any grade. You can create a word wall, or if you want to call it a vocabulary wall. And this is if you have space, because I know some folks have shared space. So this would be doable if you are able to do that. But just creating that wall so kids have those words in front of them. It also helps with the spelling of the word. And if you want, you can go a little further and have the definition of the word as well. So you can create word walls or vocabulary walls, however you want to call it, is one. And this is usually done, I would say that the word walls are usually done with our elementary students. Usually you'll see a lot of that in the elementary age. The other activity is a vocabulary builder. I actually typed in vocabulary builder activities on Google, and I did a Google image and I saw this and I thought this was cool because it uses dice. But you could do this, like I said, selectively use words. They have to, you roll the dice, or you just say, hey, you have to define the word, and today we're going to do what does it remind you of, and have them do that. You can do it in a poster form if you want to do it in poster form. That is completely up to you. You know, if you roll a 5, you use the word in a sentence, and if you roll a 3, you make a list of synonyms. And this works for older kids, folks. You could do this with your 11th and 12th graders. This game. With the older kids, your high school kids, you may say the words have to be 5 letters or more to make it a little bit more challenging.
Teresa, we actually have a comment in the chat that was sent in a private message. This person says, this would be a great way to, oh, sorry, I'm reading and trying to navigate this. This would be a great way to highlight different types of words, for example, verbs, adjectives, adverbs. Also, for older kids, you could challenge them to write a story using a certain number of the words that the group generated.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yep. There are so many different branches of activities that you can use just by doing this alphabet game. And this is not something that you actually have to, like I said, have to have a big plan for. I mean, you can literally, for example, let's say we were supposed to do a field trip. We're supposed to go swimming, and I know we're in a pandemic and there's no swimming, but we're supposed to go swimming. We can't go swimming because the weather changed all of a sudden. We can quickly just do this type of activity, and then we can branch off and do another activity as well. Any questions or comments about this particular activity or the two that we just did? I do want to add with the younger kids, K through 2nd grade, you can even turn it into a game where you have, where you're giving out clues if they get stuck and they cannot come up with words, where you're giving out clues. Like, for example, our letter was P. You can say, this is an animal that's pink, that goes oink, oink. You know, you can give out clues as well. Any questions, comments about either one of these activities? Okay. All right. So we're going to take just a quick break, a 5-minute break, and then we will come back and then finish up the last part of our session. So go ahead, and if you need to step away, get a drink, feel free. And we will be back at let's say 1:22. That'll be 5 minutes according to my. Okay.
Okay, and you're recording again.
Hello, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. We're going to continue. The slide that I have in front of you, we're going to get into some breakout sessions. And this time around, I wanted to put everybody in with their group so that this session, these talks, you're actually talking with your group and getting some information going there. So if you're with Boys and Girls Club of Cedar Valley, if you could put a 1 behind your name, that would that'll work. If you're with Ship Beyond the Bell, if you could put 2, Kids on Course 3, Youthport 4, Oak Ridge and Des Moines Schools 5, and then Boys and Girls Club 6. You may not be in your actual just one-on-one with your group. You may have some other groups in there depending on the number of people that we have.
Yeah. So if you will be so kind as to just give me a moment to confirm that I have the groups okay.
So if you could put your name or the number in front of your name or behind your name, it just makes it easier for us to quickly go down the list. Thank you for those folks who have done that already.
Okay.
So I have Cynthia Lopez is 2, and then Fatima Ramirez is 2. Baby O'Brien is 4. Juanisha is 1. I'm not able to see the whole screen. I'm sorry.
Yep, I'm sorry. And again, I just need to get a couple more people assigned here.
Okay. Cynthia Garcia is 2.
Okay, and then
Thank you, everybody. This helps tremendously. Madison Keith is 3. Cora West is 3.
okay.
Am I able to continue? Crystal, are you good?
Just one moment here. I'm sorry. I'm really trying to go as quickly as I can here. Okay.
Oh, you're fine.
I have one room for Ship Beyond the Bell because there's several of you on the call today for that. I have another room for Kids on Course and Youth Port. So I think that'll be a nice sized group there. And then I'm going to put Boys and Girls Club and Oak Ridge together, I think. So I think I'm ready to open the rooms if you're ready, Teresa.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go through, and then, well, when we get there, we can open up the rooms.
Perfect. Thank you.
So last session that we were together, we had taken a step back, and we were talking about the 3 different concerns about implementing a literacy program. As I was going through some of the program, as I was kind of fitting in and out of your conversations, there were some things that were popping out to me that kind of grabbed me. And it was really the ripple effect of this pandemic, the things that have happened with this pandemic and how we've had to adjust to it. So I wanted to kind of go through, and then we are going to actually go through and do some reflection on how this pandemic has totally came and just made it nasty. I'll be honest, just nasty. So with ripple effect, a lot of programs just constantly adjusting to the outside environment. Whether you had to adjust to what your district was doing, what the mayor decided to do, what the CDC guidelines and so forth and so on. So then that trickled down into, okay, we have these return to learn plans that we were going to implement, but now with these pandemic guidelines, some of us, you were either virtual, in person, you probably did some type of a hybrid, or you decided, you know what, we just got to do what's best for the capacity that we're able to be in, which has completely changed program structure. Your daily schedule, the schedules that you do, the activities that you do. Some of this probably even changed programs' organizational structure. We're talking all the way up to the top, to the directors, maybe to the boards, just all sorts of different structures were affected by this. So for the sake of this conversation today, though, we're going to focus on program structure. And then leading over into that whole social emotional well-being, of youth, of our families, of staff, administration, that whole social emotional, coming in and how do we help our youth and our families adjust, as well as how do we adjust ourselves? Okay. And then lastly, and I just pulled out 4 things because we can go forever and ever on the ripple effect on how this has affected OST programs. Now people are looking at out of school time programming. We have districts, we have the community, we have parents, we have practitioners, we have a lot of people looking at OST programs and saying, hey, we need your help. We need for you to help us with this educational gap that's happening and going to continue to happen. And when we talk about the educational gap, it's usually referring to the subjects of reading and math. And I can throw in social and emotional learning in there as well. But just thinking back to what this effect has had, we're going to put you in some breakout rooms and allow for you to go through what I call the 4 corners plus 1. I introduced this strategy at the beginning of our series. And this strategy really is, what it is that you utilize your room or your space, and you have, whether it's questions or comments, and it allows for people to move around and reflect, allows people to move around and just kind of think about and process what's going on. You can do this with kids as well. You can do this in an activity if you want, getting to know where kids' information is, or if you want to process some type of reading activity that you did or a math activity, you can do this as well. So when you are in your breakout rooms, you're going to do the 4 corners. And then the +1 is that middle box. And that +1 is actually just an individual question. If you want to share that out with the people in your group, feel free, but you do not have to. This is just an individual question for you. So is there any questions on what's being asked of you to do when you go in this particular breakout room? You're just going to go in and reflect on the effects of the pandemic. Questions?
Teresa, would it be helpful if I dropped the workbook into the chat so people can grab that before they go into breakout rooms?
Yes. Yes.
All right, I'll do that right.
I'm sorry, and I should have backed up. Hopefully folks got this prior to the session. I sent it out, but yes, go ahead, Crystal, I'm sorry. I just assumed that everybody had it in front of them.
For some reason that did not work, so I'm going to try it again here.
Oh, I can't do it on my end. It won't allow me.
Okay, well, folks, that is not working. So let's see if we can figure out another way to do this.
I'm actually going to, by a show of hands, and you can use your reaction button, how many people actually have this in front of them? Because not everybody has to have this in front of them, at least 1 or 2 people within the group. If we can get a show of hands or a reaction.
Yeah, I was actually just able to drop that into the chat,
Okay.
so hopefully people can grab it.
All right, we will go ahead and get you into your breakout rooms.
And how long will they be in these rooms, Teresa?
10 minutes. We're going to give them 10 minutes to talk.
10 minutes, okay. So if you're ready, I will go ahead and open the rooms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pause the recording.
Okay.
Go ahead and take it away.
Hi, welcome back. I am curious to know the return to learn plans. Which ones were effective for you for your after school programming? Anybody care to share which ones were effective for your programming itself?
I can go ahead and share for Kids on Course.
Okay.
The most effective return to learn plan has been just being in person for our students, because that virtual piece is really hard, especially during the school day, they're already on their computers the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
And so being back in person, being able to give them the break from the computers, but also just go straight from school to programming rather than going from school to home to then trying to remember to jump on programming and stuff like that.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you, Madison. Appreciate that. Okay. Anybody else care to share?
Yeah, with our group, say Oak Ridge spoke on how they actually didn't stop programming at all. They just moved over to virtual and we're still providing the services, which is really cool to hear. Say at Boys and Girls Club of the Cedar Valley, we did have to close for April and the first part of May. But when club did start back up, we were doing it in person, but we just had to lower our capacity and then just slowly work our way up to adding a few more students here and there until we can get back to some kind of normalcy.
Okay. Thank you, Caitlin, for sharing. Okay.
We've been in person since we started school at 50% capacity. And so we're just now able to add a couple other kids. And then hopefully this summer we'll be able to go back to 100%. So excited for that.
Okay. Thank you for sharing, Megan. And I focused on this particular one in asking people because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going on. There's a lot of things that could pop off. Yeah, we're getting these vaccinations, but things can just be totally different. And if you are aware of what plans work, it just helps to know that, okay, we can now go into action faster than waiting for somebody to do this or waiting for this to happen. We have things that were either we failed at it or we were good at it. And now we can put this together and it alleviates a lot of stress that we also occurred during this time. So I really wanted to put that particular question in there as well. So I'm going to actually move to the next one, and hopefully you were able to answer the +1. And again, that +1 is for you individually. If you haven't noticed, that's also an SEL question. Just to check your well-being, to check where you are or where you were at one point in time, and then you could check where you are today. So moving to the next slide, these are the next steps. So with the next steps moving forward, most of you do summer programming, and I believe all of you have some type of summer programming. So the next steps will be what your structure or your outlook of your summer programming is going to look like. And again, I know that we have to kind of wait to see what the guidelines are going to be for summer. Some of you had programming last summer, kind of looking back and saying, oh, well, maybe we can pull some things from there that helped, that were effective, that were efficient as well. The next one is like your overall outcome of programming. What are those goals? What are the program goals? Some of those conversations may lead you asking the question, where do we stand? Where do we stand with our program goals? Where do we stand in helping our families move forward? Where do we stand in this educational gap that's going on? Just answering that question, asking that question, and then providing an answer to it. I left the social emotional well-being in there. I think, folks, that's just going to be something where we're going to be at now moving forward. Really having to take the time and incorporate more of those activities, more of that learning, and not just for our youth. Hopefully organizations are doing it for staff as well. Okay, because we have to be there and together in order for us to be there for our kids. Okay. And then the last one on this next steps, literacy enrichment. This is the sixth session. We're April 15th of a new year. Where are you at with the literacy enrichment? What type of best practices have you either applied or you're looking at? And then the application of it. I know some programs have already applied some of the content and activities of the series. And then there's some programs that are just kind of, well, we're kind of waiting, or we have some obstacles that we have to overcome first before we're able to even put something into place. So again, we're going to put you in the same breakout rooms, and it's the same setup, the 4 corners plus 1. If you can catch this workbook in the chat box, that will help when you go into your sessions, into your breakout rooms. But again, you're just kind of working your way around the 4 corners. It will give you 10 minutes of discussion time to do this. Any questions on what's being asked of you? All right, I'll go ahead and let you go into those breakout rooms.
All right, thanks, Teresa. Get those rooms open. I'm also going to pause the recording. You are good to go again.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back. Hopefully you had some time to just quickly go over these and get conversations started in reflection. Like I said, it's April 15th. Hopefully you're either getting started in your summer programming, kind of planning for that. If not, that you will be shortly. One of the things that I wanted to mention was during this time, during this April-May time, hopefully that you are reaching out to your community partners, especially if you're deciding to do field trips, and that you're reaching out during this time to get at least on their list. It doesn't necessarily say that you may have to book something, that you may be booking a date or whatever, but you're getting each other connect on each other's radar. Because like I said, we don't know what's going to happen in the next 30 days. Who knows? Somebody can come out and say, the guidelines have changed and this is what we got to do. That way those programs know that, okay, we know that we heard from SHIP and SHIP wants to do this. So we're going to accommodate and do whatever we need to do. Like I said, last year put a really big damper on a lot of the field trips that we normally take. People had to, I was in a meeting last year when like the art museum, they were saying that they usually see about 1,000 to 1,500 kids in a summer. And they had to totally downsize that. Even the science center had to downsize their numbers. So again, just taking that time and getting out, and hopefully this is just conversation to get you started, and you take this conversation and continue the conversation. Anybody care to share out just some 1 or 2 takeaways from today's session that they care to share? You can either put it in the chat box, you can either speak out if you want to. At least 1 or 2 takeaways that you got? Anybody? Care to share?
I can go ahead and share. It was just nice to talk with the other organizations in the breakout rooms and see how we're all dealing with a very similar problem, but trying to provide the same services in similar ways and provide that consistency for our students.
Thank you, Madison. Mhm. Mhm. Anybody else care to share? I wanted to kind of just quickly share this works cited page. Normally, we just put it on here, but for the research, if you wanted to look up information even further on the research, on the vocabulary development, there's the works cited page, the references that were used. Our next session, and actually our last session, is going to be May 6th. With that particular session, if you could, and I will also have this out in the reminder email as well that I send out, have a children's book and a chapter book, or you can have a graphic novel. So the next session, you will need to have access to a children's book, as well as a chapter book or a graphic novel, because we're going to do some fun things with both of those things. Any questions or comments about today's session? Questions, comments?
The graphic novel, what type of, does it matter what kind, just long as it's children's one?
Well, yeah, children, teens, yeah. So Captain Underpants, or yeah, as long as it's a children or teens graphic novel. Or as I call them now, tweens. Yes. Well, if there are no questions or comments, then I know folks have things to do today. It's a Thursday. So I will end today's session, and I will hope to see everyone in our next session, May 6th, which is the last session that we have. Crystal, do you have any words that you want to say?
No, again, just a reminder that we do have the recording of these if you want to go back and maybe grab an activity or need a refresher. Everyone should have the email with that kind of hidden page and password, but if you don't, please feel free to reach out to me. I will drop my email into the chat. You can shoot me an email and I'll be happy to give you that information. So again, thanks, Teresa. This is wrapped up. I will go ahead and stop the recording.